everybody. So today we're going to be talking about things that have inspired my writing. In case you don't know, I've been writing a fantasy series for, I thought it was 7 years, and apparently it's been 9 years, which is insane and kind of depressing. Yeah, that means next year I'll have been writing it for 10 years. Or like, I got the idea in 2015 and then I started it in 2016 technically, but it's been like 9, so I'm getting old. But anyway, so today we're going to be talking about things that have inspired the book, things that have just kind of either like stories that have kept me going through writing it and have given me some inspiration or even ideas, and then also things that kind of gave me the initial idea for it, which we'll get into. For those of you who don't know what my book is about, the first book in the series is about a teenage girl whose parents are killed and her sister is taken by a militia. So she's forced to travel her kingdom and try to get her sister back, but she's very naive to the dangers of her world and especially her kingdom, because her kingdom is a mess. So she almost gets killed by the militia as well, and then this guy kind of swoops in and saves her, and he turns out to be the swordsman who really doesn't want to be there and doesn't want anything to do with her, but eventually they become like father and daughter to each other. And the tropes in it are very, found family. There's a lot of grief in it too, and a lot of moral complexity about like how far you'll go for someone that you care about, and also just like, the message that like family doesn't always mean blood. So that's kind of the overall theme of my book. Also, not to like plug my own content, but if you guys want to read a prequel story to it that talks about a war that happened 100 years before the book takes place, which I know sounds really cliche, but I promise it is original. This is my short story, Cometh. It's available on Amazon and I'll link it in the bio. I'd love if you guys supported me because it would be cool, and I'm really proud of how that story turned out and what I've been doing with my book. So, but without any more, distractions, let me get into the first thing that inspired my writing, which is the TV show Revolution.
But we can help these kids. Then at least all the crap that we've been through will have meant something.
I think the show is one of those TV shows where like everyone has kind of heard about it, but no one is like obsessed with it. I am obsessed with it. It is so good. It stars Billy Burke, who played Charlie Swan in Twilight, and I love him so much. He's my favorite actor. And it's basically about this apocalyptic world, which apocalyptic themes are very present in my writing as well. And the show is basically about this apocalyptic world where all power completely stops working. Like lights, phones, batteries, cars, everything stops working. And so the government collapses and everyone has to kind of go back to this time where people have to like grow their own food and they have to walk everywhere, and militias rise up. And the themes of family and Billy Burke's portrayal of the character in particular, and his kind of father-daughter dynamic with the main character, is what initially inspired me to write my book. Without Revolution, my book would not exist, so I'm very grateful for it. You know what, guys, you don't have to follow this account if you don't want to, but on my editing account, Lucy Whiskers, I make so many videos for Revolution, so not very popular, which is unfortunate, but it's a very good show, so I highly recommend checking it out. The second thing that has probably inspired my writing the most is The Last of Us.
Hurry up, come on.
Hey there.
And what's funny is that the dynamics between my main characters are so similar to Joel and Ellie. I didn't know The Last of Us existed until after I wrote my book. So it was so random too. I'm going to mention this in another video that I have planned, or that I already made, that I'm going to post. But basically I was having some trouble in like a writing class I was taking. So my mom randomly looked up a video from Miss Mojo about writing narratives in video games. And the car scene between Joel and Ellie popped up. And I was just like, I need to know what this is. And I fell in love with it. The trailers for The Last of Us 2, as well as just parts to the game in general, have massively inspired my writing, the last book in my series in particular. But Joel and Ellie are so similar to my main characters, so it's really cool, and like, I don't know, every time I play the games I want to write, so it's just amazing. Another thing that you guys are probably aware of from my last video is Diana Wynne Jones. Overall, I mean, I don't know that I've gotten like a bunch of ideas from her writing necessarily, but overall she's inspired me a lot to like step out of my comfort zone with magic systems, because I think I always kind of wrote magic in this really simple way, and reading her books kind of made me realize that I don't have to set boundaries for myself. Like, I can be as original as I want because I'm making it all up. And my book doesn't really have this like folklore that it follows. It has fairy tale elements in it, some folklore, but I don't even know how much anymore. I kind of forgot, but it's mainly my own story. And I think I've always been a little insecure about how it has these like apocalyptic themes to it and like guns and things like that while being a fantasy book. And Diana Wynne Jones has really encouraged me to know that like I don't have to conform to what's popular nowadays. I can literally do whatever I want because it's my book and it's fantasy. Like that's what's cool about it. So that really, she's really encouraged me to just kind of do what I want to do with the book and not worry so much about it being fitting all the tropes and trends that are in now, like mainstream fantasy young adult books. So she's inspired me so much. Another thing that inspired my writing recently, like in the past few months, and actually pushed me to finish the third draft of my book was Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
You have a father's love for the child, and that is useless to the cause. It would be best if you had no further contact with the Slayer.
I'm not going anywhere.
I watched some edits of Giles and Buffy in the past, but I kind of didn't think I'd like the show because the first episode was a little bit, I don't know, I don't like the first season that much. There's an episode called Nightmares, and that was like the #1 episode that made me fall in love with the show, partially because of Giles in it. Overall, I wasn't sure if I would like the show, and oh boy, I did. I didn't finish the last season because I didn't love how the story went, but the first 6, or I want to say 5 seasons of the show are amazing. Like, they're perfect, and honestly, I kind of wish the show had ended at season 5, but anyway, basically, like, Giles and Buffy's dynamic has some similarities to my characters, because my main character has these kind of, like, super abilities that she didn't really ask for, and then you do have, like, the father figure trying to kind of guide her through it. Giles is very different in some ways from my father figure character in my book. They're both a little scary, but I think Giles in some ways comes off a little nicer than my character does. But the show really inspired me a lot, and it got me through some writer's block, which I really appreciated. The next thing that has kind of inspired my writing is Twilight.
He's right outside.
He is?
Yeah, he wanted to meet you. Officially.
All right. Bring him in.
And I know that probably sounds terrible, but please don't click off. I have an explanation. So I don't really care about Edward and Jacob. Like, I had a point where I did not mind Edward. In the movies, I haven't finished the books yet. There was a point where I didn't mind Edward. I hate Jacob, and I don't really like Edward that much. So you're probably thinking, why did you watch Twilight if you hate both love interests? I love the aesthetic of the movies so much. I love how it's like the rainy forests, and I like Bella a lot. I really like Kristen Stewart, and I like her in that movie. Like, her acting is weird, but I like her in general, and I love her dynamic with Charlie. Once again, I love Billy Burke, so that was kind of what inspired me to give the movies a chance, because I didn't grow up with them. I was like the one person that didn't watch them when they first came out, but like as an adult, I really liked Charlie. I love Bella. I think she's adorable. I want her clothing. I just want all of her clothing. I would be so much happier in life if I had her clothing. I want to live in a rainy forest too, so I know she hates it. Apparently, like in the book, I'm just like, dude, stop complaining about this. You have the best town to live in. Where I live currently, it's hot most of the time and doesn't rain very often, so I'm just like, dude, you're in a rainy forest. That's my dream. Overall, the whole vibe of the movies, especially the first 2, have really inspired. I think one scene in my book was actually inspired a little bit by a scene between Charlie and Bella. Either that or it's very similar. I don't know that I took the idea from Twilight, but it is similar. So yeah, that's kind of how the movies have made me want to write more, and just like, I don't know, I wish that I had more rain and like forests to write in, because they really do inspire me a lot. So Twilight is kind of like the embodiment of like what I picture my book to look like, and even my main character kind of looks like Bella. So yeah, that's kind of how it's inspired me. But yeah, I think that's about it. I can't really think of anything else that's actually totally inspired my writing, other than just like real life circumstances, which I know some people are always like, oh, don't make yourself a self-insert in your book and this, and I agree, you shouldn't, like, throw yourself into your book, but like the perfect version of yourself. You don't want like a Mary Sue. However, I think writing from experience is such a good idea because you know what you've experienced the most, and that's why I've written so much grief and traumas that I've gone through. And people may say like, well, what you went through in your life is boring. No. The things that I've gone through there's a lot. Like, if you have experiences that you've gone through, write about them. And maybe not everyone will want to read it, but like maybe some people will. It's my little advice for this video, I guess. It's just like, it's okay to write from experience. And honestly, if you find a good editor, or I think you always need someone unbiased, one person to read your book who is completely unbiased. And I don't mean hating on it for no reason, but just like, if you have someone you trust to give you the truth and you trust their opinion on stories, let them read it and let them be honest, and they'll tell you if it's not good enough or if what you've written isn't interesting. You have to like write from your heart and write the things that you enjoy, and it's okay to use writing as a coping mechanism too. And if it doesn't work, you can rewrite it, but just put it down on paper if you want to. So that's kind of what I've done as well. But yeah, if you want to check out any of my writing, like I said, you can read Cometh in the link below. And I'm going to keep talking about my books on here because I think that would be fun. And yeah. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye! When the phone bush turns